Week 3, Friendship International. Today we'll be doing the right side of visual texture layout. And we're going to talk a little bit about journaling and a little bit about tags. And we previously learned how to cut out and how to put ink on the edges. I use a little bit of distressed ink. But before we start, I'm going to go back to week 2 just for a minute. Last week we talked about adding a flip-flop to a page and a title to a page. And so I've done my homework and I made a title. And I also used some puffy tapes. I've given you an assignment to look at the suggestions in the back of your Cherish book. And I raised my title. I actually did a double title so it popped a little bit. I added some accents. And I decided to leave this part alone. But we need to put it into some plastic. And when you put it into a plastic, you got to think of what side it's going on. I'm using side openings. And I just bend the picture a little bit and slide it in. And this is the left-hand side. So we'll be doing this week's page over there. But then I put my journaling on the back of paper that matched the background. And it's talking a little bit about the first day of school and such, and what happened last year and leaving the kids behind, whatever your message is. But these little flip-flops, so I have a picture on the front that's going to go over here, then it's going to flip up and it's going to reveal the journaling. Now it has a plastic covering for the adhesive, and I am going to lay this picture exactly on top of the other picture. And sometimes I get it wrong. So you're going to still show the photo mat even though it's on top of the page protector. So I just press that down, open it up, and just burnish it a little bit so it's a nice position. So this was last week's layout, and now we'll proceed to number 3. Now you've already cut this out, and I kept last week's little tabs in case I want to do this layout again, but this is the layout we're doing on page 34. But the only thing new we're going to talk about this week, let's see, how does this go, is a little bit about journaling again. So we're going to use tags for journaling this week, and you of course can hide some more, but I'm going to take my pictures off and my tags off, and this is all ready to adhere down. Why don't we start with our tags, because if my tape runs out, you already know how to adhere it down, and all we're doing is positioning it, looking at the sketch in your book or the papers I gave you, and the sketch lays it out and it gives you step by step on where to place those photos and tags. So if my computer stopped and I don't get any time to finish, we'll be just adhering those just like we learned last week. The only thing I'm going to do different is I made extra little squares, and I'm going to raise them up as an accent. Okay, back to journaling. My 2 tags were just a basic square cut out, and it was 3.5 by 2 inches, and I made 2 of them. It's going on a background of the light side of our glacier. Now, I want to journal on these, and I thought they were too light, so I made 2 different tags to go inside. I made a white one. These are letter K's. And, yeah, I made 2 white ones. And I made the same color as the background. I think I like the white better. And how I did it was I cut this shape. Sure I did. Cut the top of this green shape. I wanted to get the angle the same. So I put the square on top of that, or yes, on top of that, so that I would get the right angle. Even if you have to make the angle more, you want the same direction of your angle. And so I just trim off the sides of a rectangle so that it will fit nicely inside. And so that needs a little bit more. I had to play with it a little bit. And then I want my holes to line up too. When you get your holes made, I've just used basic twine. I haven't journaled anything. You could even have some secret journaling on here since we're now going to have 2 layers. I just pushed the folded part of a twine through the holes. I used a crocodile and I used the smaller setting on it. And then you take your 2 strings and pull it through and you have a nice tag. So it's a nice, easy way to make a tag. And I don't like tags without thread or embroidery floss, or even you can have skinny paper go through the holes, but I think you need something through the holes, or in my opinion, it just doesn't look finished. So this would be a great place to journal. And I already wrote quite a bit on the opposite page, and so I don't need a lot of journaling. So I didn't leave much room, and I used a stamp set. It was one of last year's Stamp of the Month sets. I think it was in February. It just has a lot of little doodads, and since I'm using an arrow for the school dash, I use these 3 little lines for my journaling. So I'm just going to write 3 things on each tag, and if you want, you can use the same marking and just make lots of lines with those little slats. They go well with my paper. Okay, let's put this together. I did use the double-sided adhesive. You can use any kind of adhesive you want. I find this isn't the fastest, but it is pretty accurate. And since it's lining right up in the corner, I'm not even worried about taking it off slowly. Just putting it on. This one is going right under it. Now, if you're insecure or it's not going into a plastic lining right away, you might want to put more adhesive than I do. I don't like a lot of adhesive in case I want to change something, but feel free to add more adhesive than I do. So I'm just lining up the bottom of B on the page. And my tags are now ready to go, but I'll wait on that. This is centered, my photo mat. So I'm gonna stick that on. Now this one, I do want to make sure it's exact, so I'm just making a tail. And do I want it right in the center? Yes, I want it right in the center. So I'll make sure that's straight. Then I'll pull my tag out. And it's lined up nicely. That's all ready for a picture. And these are just side by side. But first, let's put this long piece on. I have way too much tape on this one, but I want to make sure my edges stay down. And this is the same piece I did last week. I made it rough on the edge.